Thursday Forum podcast is back. I apologise. We weren't here last week. We actually had a practice match in footy. The last game I played in footy, I snapped my ankle.
How'd you go last week?
I made it through. Kicked a goal, kicked a snag.
Did Craig get it on photo?
No, it wasn't there. He went through the bloke's legs. He got nutmegged, and he was about 2 minutes out from the goal. There's this bouncing balls going which way, and I kicked it out of the air, and I was celebrating. It was a pracky match in the vets, over 35s, but I felt good.
Hey, what's the feeling like when you kick a goal?
God, you just get a big stiffy sometimes. I don't know.
You just want to run around. Like you see the guys on the AFL field, and on Monday the guys just double fists and flexing their muscles.
Yeah, I felt pretty good, but you had to keep it subdued because it was first quarter of a 3-quarter practice match against a bunch of 50-year-olds.
Yeah,
you
wow.
can't exactly go, geez, how bloody good am I?
Yeah.
But I did feel good.
Well, we'll take goals when we can get them, mate. We've got a massive episode today.
Run us through what's going on.
We're doing this, I think, every 2 weeks now. So we're going to have a heap of knowledge, like a wealth of knowledge to unpack. We've got the grandfathering with CGT tax that could come in. I want to go into that properly with you because we done a video and I've just been getting hammered with comments on there. And people like having fights and stuff. Oh, you should do this and that. So we'll go over that. Obviously, the market. I said to Craig before when I got in here, we're going to talk about the market and we're going to give people the true knowledge about what's happening because you see on socials, you see in the news, the market's going to crash by 30, 40%. What we're seeing on the ground is not that, or I'm not personally. So we're going to really deep dive into the market and give our audience a real understanding of what's happening. And if your house is on the market, what can you expect with an agent and what buyers are going to offer with your price guides as well? We're going to go over finances with Jade because there's been massive changes in that aspect. Interest rates, obviously. Gav, we could go into a lockdown too. And I think a lot of our product at the moment, some prices are going very high and it's all product dependent. That's my marketplace knowledge. Yep. Massive episode. We have a huge guest as well, which I'll introduce in a couple of moments. Are you excited?
Bloody oath. And obviously an agent in New South Wales gets banned for 10 years.
10 years. What are your thoughts?
So Josh Teslin, we'll name names, right?
Yeah.
So Josh Teslin, former Ray White, then got pushed out of the company. He was the number one bloke. Like if you thought Ray White and you thought about who was doing what, Josh Teslin was your guy. Wrote $5 million in his year that he finished up and was pushed out of Ray White for a bunch of reasons. It's now come out that he has been forging documents.
Wow.
So fraudulent documents. The Office of Fair Work said that over 100 cases of underquoting. Wow. Like we're talking huge. And so he's been banned for 10 years. You know what the crazy thing is? So I've unfollowed him. Like I wasn't a huge fan of him in the first place. I met him for the first time about 5 years ago. And he was up on stage at this elite conference and I remember asking him, what do you do for fun? You know what he said? He said he lists and sells property. I'm like, okay, but surely you go on holidays. And he goes, yeah, I go on holidays if I'm going to go list a property over there.
Yeah, crazy.
And so his whole life was around listing and selling property, which I thought was it's a machine. It's devoid of any emotion. Anyway, this guy, he's so arrogant. He had blazers with linings of all of his houses that he had sold. The day after he got banned for 10 years, he posted on his socials about all the Rolex watches he owns. He tagged the New South Wales Office of Fair Trading and said, how much money do you guys make, huh? Calling them woke and calling them gay. And so this guy who's been banned for 10 years doesn't even understand the gravity of the situation. We talk about authenticity here and that's a great way to become an estate agent. He has got to the top by just screwing everyone down. And then when he does get punished for it, he jokes about it. He gloats about it. And then you go on and you see that he's got conferences and that kind of jazz that people are spending hundreds of dollars to attend. What are you doing?
It's pretty disgusting.
Terrible behaviour.
It's a very bad look to just the whole real estate agent industry and real estate industry in general. And I think I was at that conference you're talking about, and he had his own name, not tattooed, it sewed into his blazer, and he was on the stage saying literally the word for word, he's the best, and this and that. And I thought to myself, you can be good at something, but if you're announcing that out in the public, I'm like, man, this guy's got some probably issues a little bit deeper. I'm all for people being confident, but be confident in a humble way.
Yeah, I completely agree. And look, I mean, you got to have a bit of bravado. This industry, you got to be able to show people that you know what you're doing, right? So there's an element of success, and you have to portray that success. Otherwise, no one's going to list with you if they don't think you're successful, right? Or good at what you're doing. So you do have to have a bit of ego in this game of sales. But the way that he goes about it, he's been banned for 10 years. He comes out and he starts going, "Oh, I don't care if I'm banned for 10 years. I make more money than you." Like, just get a grip, man.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Ladies and gentlemen, like, strap yourselves in, because today we have one of the most experienced agents in Southeast Melbourne with over 2 decades worth of knowledge, and I hope that's correct. Over $400 million worth of real estate sold. I was reading his write-up today and it was pretty impressive. A true operator who's seen the highs and the lows of real estate, which we'll uncover as well. From owning his own Ray White office to making the bold call to step back, reset, but come back as a lead agent in Cranbourne in a very short period of time, which I've seen firsthand. This is someone who understands not just success, but the evolution that success can bring as well. In our industry, not many people have the humility, confidence to pivot like that and come back even stronger. From a family man, and Craig said, add that, he's a mad Collingwood supporter, so I like him just that little bit more, even though he's one of my competitors. To a business owner, to now on the path to cement himself as one of the high performers in our industry. Metin, welcome to the Real Estate Forum podcast, mate. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. That's a big list. I actually, when I hear all that stuff going backwards, I'd sit there going, "Jeebus, I am one of the veterans in the game," and it's been a lot of years.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of years. So I'm very grateful to be here. So thank you for having me.
No stress, man.
Thoughts on Josh Teslin before we move on from that?
I try and keep quiet on those sort of things.
Don't.
I try not to get caught up in the politics, but I will share my opinion because you've asked me. It feels a little bit Wolf of Wall Street like. Yeah. It's you can do this job, and there are people in this industry that do perform as good as him. Self-proclaimed number one he was, whereas people in the industry actually know who number one actually really is. So he liked to get out there a lot saying he was number one when he wasn't. And realistically doing that sort of stuff, and you missed one out before, it was false bids at auctions.
Yeah, false bids.
Yeah, he was actually having people false bidding at auctions on his behalf.
Yeah.
10-year ban, send a strong message. The $33,000 fine, in my opinion, I think everyone else probably has the same opinion. Yeah. That $33,000 fine was just, it was a joke. But then obviously I did see some of his posts afterwards and see the I suppose the mockery to New South Wales fair trade, and like he's tagging them all in.
Yeah.
That going like my Rolex, and I'm going here on holiday, and I'm going to Greece in 6 weeks, and that's just
on
tasteless.
the back of ripping people off.
Correct. Yeah, it's a little bit tasteless. But at the end of the day, and this is not just our industry suffers with this. This is most industries. You've got people that are humble in what they do, and then you've got people with egos bigger than a rocket ship. So, each their own. I try not to focus too much on what they do, because at the end of the day, we got enough stuff to worry about in our own plate than have to worry about what they do. But obviously, that's my opinion on it, and I'm let him do what he's going to do.
Yeah, 100%.
At the end of the day, you can't help stupid.
I might start following him on social media. I haven't followed him, but
it
sounds pretty good.
He's not worth it, mate.
No, I think you invest time better in elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think
I'll follow you boys back. So I forgot one thing in that intro. I think when I first met you, I was thinking about this morning, man. I would have been I was going to say 10 years old. I would have been maybe 22, 23. There was an auction in Narrowwarra North, and Brent Illichik, is that his name?
Yep.
He was the auctioneer. And I think you were LJ Hooker then. I think there was an indoor pool at this joint, and the auction flew. Anyway, so LJ Hooker, why the move from LJ over to Ray White?
Really good question. So in any franchise, you pay franchise fees. And at the time, when I was with LJ Hooker as a franchise owner, I was spending external money on external help. And I'm sitting there going, hang on a second, that's not fair. Like, I'm paying franchise fees and a good bunch of franchise fees. So inherently they weren't giving me the support that I needed.
Yep.
So, as business, and look, with an all the franchises. You got franchises at one end of the spectrum, starting out all the way up to, 20, 25 year, 30 year businesses making a lot of money, and for where I was at, I needed maybe a little bit more help and love that I needed, which I wasn't getting. And at the time, I think LJ were cutting back on that, and I think it was from corporate at the time. They were scaling back a little bit because I think there was some dealings in terms of they've sold the business or they had to pay back investors. Because at one point, LJ Hooker, the grandson, came in with investors and really lifted the company back up because Suncorp milked them to death. Suncorp were basically, we were an asset to them and they just milked it. And then once they didn't want us, they spat us out and sold it. And Yanis Hooker bought it back. The grandson of Hooker bought it back. And at the time, he had to, I believe, get some investors all together. And those investors, after a few years, wanted their money back. Lifted the company really well. It was really, really good. It was the best time I've ever seen LJ Hooker at the time. But then I think once he paid all the investors back, he had to get separate loans from interstate, from my understanding, or out of the country, and they were high interest rate loans and had to scale back. And the thing that you scale back on when you want to make profit in the business is human resources. Yeah. So they that human resource at the time really wasn't there. So I went looking at all different other brands at that time, and I found Ray White to have the best offering at the time. And I interviewed probably about 5 or 6 brands at that time. I won't name them because they're all around us. But some of them were good, and some of them we walked out feeling pretty dirty, to be honest.
Did any of them impress you?
Out of the half a dozen,
out of the other 4,
yeah, there were a couple.
Yep.
There were a couple, but ultimately we felt going from LJ Hooker to probably about 3 others, the brand was a step backwards in terms of the support. I even considered going independent at the time. Reason why I didn't go independent at the time is because I'm heavily competitive. So people go, and that's probably a little bit of ego. Funnily enough, I think that's a bit of ego.
Yep.
But I know I'm driven by competition. So if I'm a one-man band or an independent with no other offices to work off or bounce off or being able to scale metrics off, then for me, I knew I probably wouldn't be as successful as I would.
Metin's metrics, that could be a little recap.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually.
A bunch of data every Saturday.
There you go.
My question, all right, so this is a huge one. Everyone has that pipe dream of starting out in real estate, becoming a sales consultant, then making heaps of money, then owning a venture and become the director and taking over the world is right. That's everyone's dream. You've done that. You became the director, and then you said, I'm actually stepping back. I'm just going back to the sales consultant. So you've gone through the pipeline. You've made it to the top. Well, the top is what, I guess, the hierarchy, the perceived top is where people want to go. And then you've decided, I'm going to come straight back down.
Yep.
Why?
It actually wasn't by choice, this one. And I don't share it with a lot of people. Some people do know it. So our shop, and it's actually, there is irony to it. So they didn't renew my lease where my shop was. And the irony was about 3 months before that, I actually tried buying a shop in Narre Warren South. So I made an offer on a shop and I missed out on that shop by 20 grand. So I'm spewing and actually renovating that as we speak. It's going to be turning into a pharmacy. But the irony is when they said, no, we're not renewing your lease, I said, well, why not? And they said, because we're going to put an Afghan grocer into the shopping centre that I was at. I'm like, oh, fair enough. And I said, well, why do you want to do that? And said, well, because there's so many Afghan community or people of that origin is now in Narre Warren South. I'm sitting there going, I probably put most of them in there. I sold most of the houses to them. So the irony was I put them in and then obviously, they can't shop there.
What do you prefer? And don't give me there's pros and cons to both. Do you prefer being a director or a sales consultant?
Okay. In terms of stress, it's far easier. Being a sales consultant is far, far easier. In fact, I really, when people sit there and say, Metin, I want to be a director or an owner of a business, I really tell them to dig deep on why they want to do that because money's not enough. They sit there going, Metin, because I want a bigger chunk of the money. I want more of the share, or, I want more of the pie. I'm sitting there going, mate, actually, that's not the case. I'm making more money now as working for someone else. So it's...
So say it again, you're making more money now as a sales consultant than you were as a director or manager.
Yep, and less stress.
So you're happier with your decision?
I'm happy with my decision. I do miss it. I do miss being a director. But at the end of the day, I like what you said, I've done it. I've been there. I thought I ran a pretty successful business for 12, 13 years.
You did, mate, yeah.
We did okay. We had a nice rent roll, comfortable rent roll. I think more importantly to us was looking after our people. So I thought we looked after our people pretty well. I always probably kept non-performers for a bit longer than what I should have, to be honest. And that's a pretty expensive. That's an expensive bill to get through. But no, I do miss it. But I wouldn't go back to it. I have no inkling to go back being a sole director. If there was potential opportunities that opened up within where I was at, I'd definitely consider it where I was at. I work for a pretty good company with pretty good leadership and structure and a good team there. So never say never. But at the moment, I've got 3 kids and, I'm doing some hours and I'm glad I don't have the business to run anymore. So that's a whole nother stress.
I'm going to ask this question just from my personal experience that I probably would think would happen if I was in your position. So if I was a director of a company and, we had the opportunity not to fulfill that, business still, and I was going to take a step back and go into a sales consultant role, what was that internal mindset? Like, what was the conversations happening in your head? Were you thinking, oh, fuck, I'm going to take a step back, I'm a loser? Were those kind of thoughts coming through? Because me personally, that's what would happen to me. I don't know. That's why I'm asking that question. Yep. Did you have those hard conversations with yourself? How'd that go?
I think that one of the you do worry about is sitting there going, what's people going to think of me?
Yeah.
And I think before I even got to that, as soon as the business sold, I was just looking for a break. And I did. I took a 6-month hiatus. I took a 2-month holiday, went overseas with my family and I just got to spend some quality time and reassess where I was, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, where I wanted to do it. So, that wasn't my first thought because ultimately at the end of the day, I knew who I was. I know who I am as a person. So, I tried to ignore the outside noise and just trying to focus on me, my family, what's best for us at the time and what was best for me at the time and also my family was just to take a break.
Yeah.
And then just reassess it. So, I'm sure there's probably people out there that probably say, hey, Matt, you're a loser. How could you do that? Failed. That's a big one, fear of failure. But at the end of the day, I look back at it and go, you know what? I had the balls to do it. And anyone who has the balls to go and to do that, because it's not cheap to do that these days. Like office fit outs are $200,000. To put people on, you recruit people, you hire people, like you're carrying salaries.
Yeah.
To build a business from zero, and I mean zero, we had zero rentals, zero market share, zero nothing.
Yeah.
So I am proud of what I did accomplish. Would I still prefer to be there? Yes, I would. But ultimately, I took the wins out of it. I took the positives out of it.
Yeah.
And those positives are, I don't have as much stress as what I used to. The responsibility is far less. I think just to give people an example, and I'm on probably the low end of the scale, just to keep my office open, just to keep the doors open without making $1, it was like 65 to 67 grand a month.
Wow.
Just to keep the doors open. And when you calculate that, you're talking $800,000 a year. Just to keep the doors open before you even make a profit.
I think a lot of business owners can resonate with this. So not just real estate, but you might be running a landscaping business or a mortgage broker or something, and then you're running your own ship trying to grow it. And they can resonate with this and the feelings that you're going through at the moment. You go, why am I doing it? I could be bloody making more money stacking apples at Woolworths.
100%. I think it has definitely, I knew when I was going to go join back into real estate, I'm like, I don't want to be a burden. Yes, I want to earn good money and I want good splits and all that sort of stuff, but I want to be able to give back to that company because I've been on the other end of that.
Yep.
So now that I'm where I'm at Ray White Cranbourne, I do my thing. they employ me there to list and sell. So that's what I'll go and do. But also, it's also important to me to culturally give back to them too. So, you know, they've been great to me, giving me a spot in their company, and I want to give them back to them culturally. So there's many ways that I'd like to give back to them, because one thing that, and this goes for all sales agents in any role, you should be a beacon or an advocate for that business, because if that business is doing better, and I've said this to Mark, I said, if you're doing better, I'm doing better. So my goal is to help you accomplish your dreams and your goals, because if you're hitting your dreams and your goals, well, hopefully I'm hitting my dreams and my goals.
100%. Going back to your previous answers to my question, I think you articulated that so well. Like your definition of success is not having stress and business and overheads of $800,000 a year.
What do you mean he articulated it well? He said, I've got the balls to do it.
No, like he didn't care what anyone else thought if someone thought it was taking a step back. Like he knew within himself that was the best thing he could do personally. And like sitting across here from you now, like you look happy. Like, you know, you can see when they come in, they're stressed. You say it to me half the time, like, are you stressed?
It's a 50-50 with you, mate.
Yeah, it is a 50-50, but you look like you're just like, nah.
He's got a few grey hairs.
I don't have to.
A few
that
more.
was the business ownership.
The business ownership.
I was brown before I got into business. But by the time I finished, I was white. Yeah. I actually, and I always have a good saying. So I go back to my competitive streak. I was actually pretty good at athletics back in the day. That was what I wasn't much of a footy player, but I enjoyed it. But athletics was my thing. And I always looked at business as a hurdle race. It was a hurdle race. And I was really good at jumping hurdles. And when you're in business, and you'll testify to this, and even in your business, you'll have hurdles that come up every day. So we got good at jumping hurdles, really, really good. And when we made the decision, because I spoke to my wife about it when we made the decision to finish up the business, it was like, it's like that one hurdle at the end of the race, which is just still standing.
Yep.
You haven't jumped. So you just stopped right in front of the hurdle. And that's what it felt like. It felt like that hurdle was it.
Yeah.
There's no more race, and I didn't get to the finish line. But is what it is.
Well, the finish line, I guess, is ever changing. And the finish line could be in 5 years, could be in 20 years, could be when you're dead. But we've got plenty more hurdles to jump ourselves. So we're going to take a small break and we'll come back. Mets, don't go anywhere. And we've got some hot topics right around the corner. Thank you very much for waiting around that long, elongated commercial break. We've got Jade from 11 Financial joining us on the podcast as we do each week. But we have a special guest. You're ruining it, Jade. I was giving you this big intro. Yes, Norman the dog. Norman the sausage. Say hello, Norman. Woof, woof, woof. Jade, thank you. So the really cool thing was you just said before that you have some juicy goss for us.
It's not necessarily juicy goss.
Yeah, I added that.
We're selling
You
that.
added that. But I was chatting with some colleagues and some bank contacts recently about the current events of the world and the climate of the economy, and I guess the way it's looking like things are heading at the moment. And I don't know about you guys, I'm finding first home buyers are still really quite active in the market because they want to get into the market regardless. I am finding upsizers being a little bit cautionary in increasing their loans and stuff like that because they're nervous about where rates are going to go. But in saying that, like, no one has a crystal ball. All we have is data, right? And the data over the last 100 years shows the property market consistently in an upward trend. Yes, we have moments where it's dipped along the way, but overall it's consistently gone up. In comparison to what we're going through at the moment would be the 1990s recession, where we did see the market drop, but even back then, the drop wasn't as large as they predicted, and it didn't go for as long as they predicted. It came and left quite quickly. And back then, immigration was substantially lower than what it is here today. I think there was about 300,000 people that net migrants, which obviously I think, Gav, you would know this, correct me if I'm wrong, but net migrants is the total immigration less whoever's left the country.
Correct.
So whoever Yeah, so probably more people than that because expats can still buy in Australia. And so we've got immigration consistently growing, supply versus demand. I don't see the market dropping like people are fearful of.
What a breath of fresh air. I want to call you when I'm depressed about the market because you've made me pumped up.
Well, what do you guys think?
Are you referring to the Benno cycle?
What's the
You
Benno?
testing me.
What is the Benno
The Benno
cycle?
cycle. So there was this dude in the 1800s, right? And he predicted like all the rise and falls of the economies. More so the US economy is a little bit different to the Australian one. Anyway, and it's basically every 18 years that the property cycle goes through a dip. So the 1990s, yep, there was a recession. And then what was 18 years after that?
I was always taught it was every 10 years goes through.
What was 18 years? This is the Benno cycle.
Yeah,
What was
recession.
18 years after that? GFC, 2008.
2008, yeah.
What was 18 years after that?
COVID.
No, 2026.
Yeah.
Oh, now.
Now,
sorry.
yeah. So that's the Benno cycle is, and this is like, I don't know, he formulated this in the 1800s, but he's been right. Like the Great Depression, the post-World War in the 60s, the 70s, and then the 90s as well. He's been bang on. Anyway, that's just a little thing, a Benno cycle, but it has been tough, and I agree with what you said, Jade. First home buyers, all over it. And I think this is a great time for first home buyers, by the way. The Sydney market's pulled back 2 months in a row. Melbourne market's pulled back 2 months in a row. This is a great time for first home buyers, but people are sitting on their hands a little bit if you're upsizing.
They are. And I mean, upsizes is different because they do have a house to sell, I guess. So when it comes to them selling and buying, in some cases, it can kind of all be relevant. For your first home buyers, I feel like the buyers that are fearful of entering the market in a climate like this, they are the ones that end up potentially missing out. I think I've mentioned in the past, I've got clients that during COVID, they were like, we're not going to buy yet. The news is saying that the property market's going to drop by 30%. We're not buying. And a lot of those people have still not purchased because they are just simply priced out of the market now. They can't save the deposit fast enough for how quickly the market has shifted.
Recording in progress.
And has that not been recording the whole time?
Craig just pressed the
Wow.
record button.
Jade's finally like made me so happy with her interview. And
Well,
Craig wasn't even recording.
Right, so our producer Craig, he's a professional photographer. One thing that he cannot get right are cameras.
No, Zoom. It's Zoom, man.
It's still a camera. Whether it's a camera that you hold like what are they called, the Sony DLRs, or the ones you put on top of the screen. Anyway, we're back now. Can you give us a wave? Hey.
We nearly had
Can
a
you show
meltdown.
Norman?
Yeah, he's back.
Woof. All right, where were we going?
We were talking about markets upsizes and stuff like that, I believe. The upsizes are they're still buying, sorry, I think you were saying?
Yeah, so I think we were talking about my first home buyers that have missed out during COVID. And yeah, a lot of those people still haven't purchased because income hasn't increased really since COVID, but property prices have rapidly. So the deposit that they need is a lot higher. You can't save 20 grand overnight when you're a family of 4, you know what I mean, on 2 wages. And so continuing to save, borrowing capacity. So a lot of those clients are unfortunately priced out. So I think for a lot of people that are getting put off by fear, especially first home buyers, you're getting into the market for the long game. You're not getting into the market to make quick money in 6 months. And if your property does go down by 30 grand in 6 months' time, you roll your eyes. Of course, we love something to complain about, but you want to have that property for 3, 5, hopefully 10 years or more. And that's when you're going to see the growth.
17 years. You want to avoid the 18-year cycle?
There you go.
Can we talk about CGT?
Capital gains tax.
Yeah.
Do we have to?
No, yes, please, because Brent's been banging on about capital gain. He knows his stuff now.
No, yeah, I do.
I've been so impressed. This guy is so educated.
I've been listening to a bit of Bob Cutter, which
He's
is
been listening to
which
Bob
is not,
Cutter.
That's not CGT related. I'm lucky I didn't wear a cowboy hat here today. If there was a Kuba shop on the way, I would have had one
So I
on.
think Brent made that connection because he's now becoming educated, and he references Bob Catter, the Conservative MP that got sacked from his own party up in the Queensland.
Being serious for a moment, like with that CGT tax, right? I was looking at it before. If that's grandfathered, right?
Can you explain what's going on here? We
Okay.
spoke about it a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Run me through it.
So with the CGT tax, at the moment, if
Capital
you sell,
gains tax.
Yeah, if you sell an investment property, you're taxed on 50% of the profits that you make on that home, correct?
Investments.
Yeah, the government is now trying to put a new law or a new tax on there that's going to be risen to 75%, okay, which is an extra half, which is ludicrous. The one thing I was reading into, if they grandfather this, which means if you buy a property right now, that's not going to be you. You pay the 50% capital gains tax, and if it does come into government, then and it does change, you're not going to change to 75%. What I thought, is there ever going to be a better time to buy an investment property in Australia than right now? The market's coming back. If that is grandfathered, you're paying 50% CGTs. That's a 25% saving. If I'm an investor looking to invest, I'm investing right now. I'm investing in Melbourne, maybe Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane, Perth, because there's never going to be a better time. What do you think?
Well, I'd like to get Jade's opinion first.
Yeah.
I am not an expert on capital gains tax. Obviously, that's more of an accounting thing, but I understand what you're saying, Brent. And I personally think now is the perfect time to invest as well in Melbourne, particularly. I think Melbourne has underperformed for the last, what would it be, 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, my partner says.
So I think you're due to have a bit of growth. What was that?
So I said my partner says I've underperformed the last 3 to 4
said,
years.
And then you said growth. He's due for it. Poor Cav. Poor Rach.
I actually also think it's a good time to invest. I think, as I say, I always say we don't have a crystal ball, and sometimes I get nervous to say to someone, yes, now is a good time to invest, because there's that little voice in the back of my head that says, shit, what if the market did crash tomorrow and I've told this person they should invest? But as I said earlier, all we have is data. Data's always shown that property goes up. Melbourne has underperformed significantly for the past few years. So, yeah, I think it's there's some money to be made there.
I agree. I think if you're an investor, you'd be looking now. 100% you'd be looking now because, I mean, if it's retrospective, if they bring in this and you say, well, everyone that's bought properties in the last 20 years, well, cop it. That discount's only going to be 25%. But if it's grandfathered, which means that it only applies from when the bill is gazetted, then you should be buying something right now. And on the flip side, if you're a first home buyer, wouldn't you then wait until all the investors are bowed out of the market and buy the day after that?
100%. Yeah.
Anyway, just something to think about. Sorry, you go, Brent.
No, I was just going to say, do you have anything else to add, Jade?
Can we do it next week or in 2 weeks, whenever we do it next? I'm going to bring a crystal ball in. I'm sick of people saying this.
The
eight ball.
Bring the 8 ball in.
The market's going to go up. Yes, no, maybe. And we're going to have our predictions. We're going to have our predictions. And I want you, Jade, to be part of this too. Because
should we dress up as wizards?
I'm thinking wizard hats.
Cowboy. I'll be a cowboy.
Well, I mean, they don't really read crystal balls, Brent, but as a cowboy, you're just banging on about the cowboy hat that you had. All of a sudden, that's all that's on his mind. Cool. Jade, what do you think about that? Have a crystal ball session?
Sounds good. I'm still waiting on the conspiracy theory session.
Well,
I know.
No one seems to really like it. I like my conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
I sent you one.
Sorry?
I sent you one about the Titanic, I'm pretty sure.
Did you send to me?
After that, yeah, you responded.
Oh, well, then
I can't get into conspiracies, man. Like, I listened to that one podcast and I'm obsessed with this guy. Like, if
Bob Catter? Why are you obsessed with Bob Catter?
Because if I like something, I'm just like, the worst loophole ever. I'm just like,
anyway, I'll go
like a black hole. So no conspiracy theories for me.
All right, we'll get it. We'll get the crystal ball out next time. Mets, do you have any questions for Jade, mortgage broker, Supremo?
Actually, I do. You said before that there's data out there, which obviously you're talking about the 18...
Mets metrics?
Yeah, Mets metrics. The 18 years, the
Banner cycle?
Banner cycle, that's it. Is there data out there where people can look up or utilise to their advantage to sit there and go, you know what, let's look at that data, which minimises that fear for them to go out and want to purchase something. And I'm going to let you answer that one in a second. The reason being is, like, between us here, there's probably thousands of transactions of homes, and yet over the amount of time we've been doing it, I reckon I could probably count on one hand the amount of people that have regretted buying their house afterwards.
Yep.
I sit there going, you know, they bought the house on me 5 years ago. They go, Metin, we were shit scared. We didn't want to buy at that time. But you told us it was always going to go up, and 5 years later, here we are, and it's $300,000 more. And they go, we're so glad we bought back 5 years ago. And I'm like, I told you.
I said to Gav about this. How many houses do you sell that you sold at a loss that you've sold before?
I reckon I can count on one hand.
Yeah.
One hand. And we've done a few transactions here.
Yeah.
So is there any data that these guys could utilise to sit there and take that fear away, to sit there going, you know what, yes, we're scared, but we're going to make the right decision?
Honestly, my recommendation would be to speak to a professional, because you can find data anywhere.
You are the professional.
Follow 11 Financial.
No, that's what I mean. Speak to me, speak to a professional. Because why are you laughing, Brent?
Just a bit of a self-plug.
Yeah, but speak to a professional, because you can Google. So when I've looked up my data, it's from Googling, right? It's just from doing research. 100 years of data. I'm sure there's some sort of website where you could find that. But for me, it was Google. People use ChatGPT. But the thing is, we know how to read the data, right? Because we're professionals in this industry. Someone who isn't necessarily a professional or experienced and understands what they're looking at, it's just going to be lines, which can be quite overwhelming, right? So I think speaking to someone who can show them that sort of data and say, look at this upward trend, and talk them through it, is going to give people a lot more confidence, rather than just doing the research and being overwhelmed by graphs and figures.
Yeah, and hopefully alleviate some of that fear that they may have in purchasing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They always say to us, when is the right time to buy? Whenever you're ready. Yeah, yesterday. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Or for first home buyers, the day after the new bill has been gazetted. Let's leave it at that. Jade, thank you so much for joining us. We bring your wizard hat next session.
I will.
Thanks, Jade.
And bring one for Norman.
Thank you.
All right, we're back. We want to thank quickly Sharon from Style With Us Home Staging. She's amazing at her job, as you can see. Her social media at the moment is absolutely popping off, which is good to see. We obviously had Jade from 11 Financial, and we have Douglas from Adaptive Fire and Electrical. I always get that wrong. Gav, let's dive into the market a little bit, because we said at the start we're going to talk about the market, and Metin as well. I'd love to get your insights. We do all work in a similar kind of price market, so you know, you got anything from the $400,000-$500,000.
Do you guys come up against each other in listing presentations?
I don't think ever.
Not really. No, we don't.
I was hoping to start some beef.
No, never. Even like I come up against Paul from your office a bit.
Yep.
I got one off him the other. I think we'll probably have a 50-50 thingo. And I got one in the message. He was like, "Oh, I nearly got you," and I'm like, I fought to the death for that listing. Like, it was so good to get. It fucking took me 8 weeks to sell it. But anyway, I was going to say, like, the market at the moment, it's very product dependent. If you've got a good product in any market, it's going to sell. Every property is still selling. It might just be an extra maybe 2 weeks on the market is what I'm thinking.
Yep. If it's priced right, it still goes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm finding. If it's priced right, but also I call it the haves and have-nots at the moment. It's really interesting, the market, because when the market is booming, going great guns, if you give your advice to the owner to say, hey, look, you know, do the carpets, do the paint, or spruce it up, make it show ready, get it show ready. And they're the ones that did really well in a good market. They're the ones that are still doing really well in this marketplace. The only thing that I'm finding in this marketplace at the moment is owners have maybe put their hands back in their pockets and they've stopped spending. So to get a house show ready, it costs usually between 10 to 20 grand. Paint, staging, flooring, bit of landscaping, bit of cleaning. And when you sit there and go, hey, look, it's an $18,000 bill, they're actually sitting there going, where can we cut? And I'm sitting there going, now's probably not the time to cut. Now is the time to invest that money more so than ever, because I am definitely seeing a difference between property that is sale ready and ready to go, rather than it needs paint and needs carpet. Those ones are the ones that sit and dwell in this marketplace.
Yep, I agree.
So,
100%. Are you finding it's harder to move stock, we call stock properties, harder to sell properties in this market, Mets?
not really. I am finding it, so you just, and I always have a saying, when times get tough get going.
The tough get going.
It's good I find, when the market is hot, and we're all bad for this, we cheat, we take shortcuts, but when the market gets tough, you've got to go through the A, B, C's and D's of real estate. So any agents that are out there, that have started in the last 3-4 years and they haven't worked in a tough market, they're going to struggle. In my opinion, they'll struggle because they don't know how to navigate their owners through this market. And they don't know how to have the hard conversations.
I agree, man. I think as well, it's a mental battle. So I'm lucky enough to, if something happens in real estate, I try not to mind too much. It's not my problem. I've done the best job I can.
Yep.
I see it with people I'm pretty close with, especially if you're the young guys and, someone I'm very close with who may work at Barry Plant in Harry Warren, they get very emotional over stuff. Like, dude, who cares? Like, have you done your job? Have you done everything right? Have you followed up? Have you done every single thing right? I have. Cool. Fucking move on. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who
That's usually
cares?
the problem though, because they lie to you, they haven't. That's usually what I find.
Yeah.
So, if they can sit back afterwards and they have regret, it's normally because they haven't done something that they've promised an owner that they need to do.
But learn from that and move on and say to the owner, oh, we should have done this.
Yep.
But let's fix it now and we'll have a plan. And it's having those hard conversations, man.
Do you think they do that though?
No, well, I'm looking after one of my mates' listings at the moment. There's about 6 of them. And this offer didn't come through. He's like, oh, yeah, maybe have a chat with him about price. I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. I don't even know this owner. I can't do that, He should give him a call. Hey, what kind of price would you consider? I might consider X. Cool, let's price it from here to here and create that competition. And do it now. Do it today.
Yep.
Don't do it tomorrow. Don't say, oh, I'm going to wait for the open. Man, why would I wait for the open? Why don't we build competition now?
Yeah.
And we can have a conversation on Monday. I've got 2-3 offers here.
Yep.
Or I call you Monday, we drop the price, we've lost another week, and I've got no one through your open, and you're thinking, fuck, what do I do?
And genuinely, you can do that with empathy.
Yeah.
And I always sit there, when I have these hard conversations with my owners, one of the first things I sit there and go, let me tell you, look, I'd love to sit here looking like King Kong and flex the chest and, what you said, do the double guns before. But unfortunately, we're not here. And I'm going to have a hard chat with you guys. And let me tell you, this hard chat is, genuinely, for me, it actually is. That hard chat is the worst part of what we do. Well, that's the worst part of what we do, what I think in the job. It's crap. No one wants to sit there and have to sit there and say you're not going to get the price that you want or that we can't achieve that sort of figure. It's hard, but if I don't have that chat, then I'm not really representing you as an owner or doing the right thing by you by sticking my head as an ostrich in the sand. It's no good. So, these newer agents these days, learn to have the hard chats. Do it empathetically. I think that's the biggest problem with the agents at the moment that are running around. They sit there going, oh, you're not going to get that price. Or even the ones I've heard are like, they're asking, let's say 800 to 880 and they've come in with an offer of 750, go, this is the best offer you're going to get. You should take it. They're sledgehammers. You don't treat owners you don't treat humans like that.
I think, and I have to say this as well, like as much as I'm an advocate for having those hard conversations, like we still back our clients in 100%. And if we get an offer, we're not scared to negotiate and potentially lose that offer.
Yeah.
If we think that there's a better deal coming and protecting your owner's price.
Yep.
But if that's not happening, you're not getting yourself into that position, then hey, it's probably the best thing to look after your client. You say, Gav, maybe that price isn't there. Let's retain ownership for the next 12 months.
Yep.
If we can rent it out, let's rent it out and we'll reassess in 12 months.
Yep.
It's a more humble, not cash grabbing
Yeah.
approach. Is that what, how you said you wait like 6 weeks?
Yeah, for sure.
6 weeks for a price change. You still like that?
Yeah, I do. I know that the big names want you to push earlier to try and get it sold earlier, but I think there's merit to be said, like that owners want to see that you're working for it.
100%.
So show that you are on their side and you're not just trying to get
Exactly,
a price
man.
reduction in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you support them.
Yeah, you support them.
I know there's some owners. In fact, it was funny because I just had an owner recently, and after one open, it was not a huge turnout. And then we spoke about it. They're like, Metin, do you think we should amend the price? I'm like, you know what? No, let's leave it as it is. Let's continue to do another open. This is heading towards the second open.
Yeah.
And they called me back a day later and go, Metin, I don't think we should wait. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. So I've got owners at the moment approaching me.
Because they're smart.
Yeah, because they know what's going on in the market.
Now, Brenna, you're bailing out.
Yeah. Yep.
You got to go. Before you go, just 30 seconds. I saw in your notebook lockdowns.
Yeah.
What's your theory? Are you saying we're going to lockdowns?
Nah, so Kyla calls me this morning or yesterday.
Brent's girlfriend.
And she's like, oh,
Love her.
Nick's got back from Vietnam, who's her boss. God bless her soul. She's like, oh, Nick was reading this thing from a very reliable resource that next week we could potentially go into lockdown. And I'm like, okay. And then I was listening to a podcast and he was saying as well, like, if there is a fuel crisis or a fuel shortage, people die. Like, you can't get medical supplies places, and it's a fucking massive problem, dude.
Food? You can't deliver food?
Yeah, a massive problem. So
Can't make food.
apparently there's on this piece of paper or whatever she was reading that there'll be a limit on the amount you can go to supermarkets and how far you can drive your car and limits on how much you can fill your car up at the petrol station. Do I believe it? No. Do I care? I don't know. Who cares? Whatever happens, happens. I need a holiday anyway. Just chill out at home.
You had a holiday last week. But look, it is interesting. Sri Lanka, they have a mandated public holiday now every Wednesday for the government workers.
Wow.
So in Thailand, you can only drive to work if you have a second person. So you're carpooling. And every second day, there's certain number plates that can and can't drive. So there is kind of not lockdowns, but restrictions around trade. So there could be some further restrictions. But to be honest, the Strait of Hormuz open today. I think you'll see things go back to normal pretty, not straight away. It'll probably be a couple of months before the kilter returns to the even ledger, but I think it will eventually happen. Yes, if there was going to be more restrictions around importing of diesel, you may have seen that, Brent, but I don't think so.
It's going to be like COVID.
I miss it, man. I miss lockdowns.
It was a good holiday. It's true. It was a good holiday.
Yeah.
But it's just like with COVID. If you know it was always going to come to an end. Yeah. So this is going to come to an end at one point too. It won't last forever.
At the end of the day, what's us worrying about it? It's going to happen. There's people smarter than us that are in charge for a reason. Yeah, get Cattering.
All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Mets Metrics. I want to say that now. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with us, mate. Hope you had fun.
It was a pleasure, mate. Thank you guys for having me. I'm very grateful to be on the show.
Appreciate you.
Good luck at the Open.
Cool, man. Thank you.